Greetings. Today we're going to talk health, most specifically eating habits and how some of those habits can hurt you that go against what a lot of other people are trying to tell you. For instance, there are a lot of people who are telling you you should go vegetarian. You should eat more vegetables. Vegans, you know what, they go to the extreme. Not only do they only eat vegetables and stuff like that, but they can't cook in what they call animal fats. So there ain't no cooking in butter, no cooking in certain types of oils, no cooking in fish oil. Done. Just can't have any of that. And it might be healthy, although they have to take a lot of supplements, but that kind of thing isn't for everybody. You know, the regular nutrition things say that you're supposed to eat a lot of vegetables. And in general, that sounds like a good thing. But it's not for everybody. Let me tell you my story. Back in 2012, I was part of a study that was being conducted by Upstate Hospital, which is affiliated with, New York State. And I was part of this study being diabetic. And so it was like 11 weeks of different things that you had to do. And so this one particular week, you had to basically go on an almost carb-free diet. This is what they wanted. It was supposed to be a protein diet. So I went and did the protein things, which is I bought, a lot of meat. I bought a lot of vegetables. I didn't have any salads, but I bought the vegetables that I would eat. I would eat mixed vegetables, and I would eat broccoli as long as I had meat with it. Ugh. But I ate that, and I ate a lot of vegetables. I ate potatoes. I ate all this other kind of stuff. And what ended up happening is I lost weight. So I said, oh, that was pretty cool. In a week, I lost 8 pounds. So when that part of the study was over, I just kept up with it. I said, I like this weight loss thing. Let me do a little bit more of this. So over the next 6 weeks, I lost 25 pounds. Sounds really cool, right? Then I go to the Joslin Center, which is a diabetes clinic here in the Syracuse area. And they do this test, and the doctor freaks. Doctor says, your potassium levels are way off the charts. They're way too high. The strange thing is most people don't get enough potassium in their diet, but there are those of us who have too much. So I was off the scale. There's only one thing you can do to reduce potassium, and that's to stop eating it. Now, the reason you don't want high potassium is because it causes two major things. One is kidney failure, and sometimes kidney failure is, comes because of potassium, or sometimes it leads to potassium problems. But in this case that I'm talking about, it will lead to kidney failure, or it leads to heart problems. Cardiac arrhythmias, sometimes it will stop your heart. That's not a good thing, especially when you're diabetic, because one of the problems you have by being diabetic is heart disease potential problems. So suddenly I had to look at all these foods I was eating and realize, there's a lot of stuff I have to cut back on, because except for emergency situations where you're talking about going into the hospital and having certain things done, the only way you can lower your potassium is to stop eating it. So that meant all green vegetables. Everything that's a green vegetable, which meant no salads, no broccoli, no cabbage, which I actually like fried cabbage, none of that. All of that had to go. Things like cauliflower, which isn't necessarily green, but it's considered a green vegetable, gone, which I hate that stuff. So I was not necessarily depressed about that. However, I had to cut out salmon. I had to cut out shrimp. I love salmon and shrimp, but they're high in potassium. So I had to cut out stuff like that. I had to basically cut out potatoes. Now that was difficult because I love some McDonald's French fries. I'm not going to lie. Probably at least even now, there's like at least once a week where I'm going to get some McDonald's French fries. They get small, but I still love my McDonald's French fries. Had to cut that out. There's certain fruit you're supposed to cut out, like bananas. Luckily, I don't really like bananas, so I, missed out on that. Didn't care. Beans. You can't eat beans because they're high in potassium. Well, there that goes. That's just another thing to add into the mix. So there's a whole lot of things that I was eating to lose weight that suddenly I couldn't eat. Then I had to look at other foods I eat. For instance, there's certain cereals. There's only a couple that I actually like, but it turns out that some of those cereals are high in potassium. Who knew? A lot of milk. Milk is high in potassium. So therefore, you can't eat cereal anyway unless you got potassium-free milk. And I don't even know if such a thing exists. So I said to the doctor, well, what am I supposed to eat to try to balance some of this out? And so she sets up an appointment with the nutritionist. And the nutritionist, I guess this must have been the first time she'd ever been asked this question, because she goes online and she prints out a lot of stuff which I had already seen before I met her. And she says, well, you can eat a lot more carrots. I said, carrots are the highest thing on the glycemic index for diabetics. That's the food you guys are telling us we shouldn't be eating, along with a lot of other ideas that she really had no clue. So, basically, for almost a year, I had to pretty much stop eating almost anything with potassium in it. I could not give up my fries. I'm not going to lie. That I couldn't give up. But I gave up everything else. So no shrimp for a year, no salmon for a year. I didn't really care about the salad so much, although every once in a while I wanted a salad, had to not eat that. No green vegetables, none of that for a year, except for my occasional French fry. And I got under the potassium level barely. So here it is. It's 6.5 years later from that initial diagnosis. I went in October, had my potassium tested, and I'm right at the high number. Once again, I'm right there. Go over in a moment's notice. What's that mean? Well, maybe salmon once every 2 or 3 months. Shrimp maybe once every 2 or 3 months. Leave my McDonald's French fries alone. Okay, I have limited myself to basically a half of a small French fry once a week, because I still need my French fries from McDonald's. No ketchup. I still need it. Beans. You know what? Not that I necessarily eat tons of beans, but every once in a while I like to make chili, and I like baked beans. Totally out because I'm right at that high number. So for all the people who know I'm diabetic locally, who want to say, well, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't eat that, I got to say, well, I can't eat that stuff you think I should be eating. Everyone cannot always eat the exact same thing that everyone else eats. Just can't do it. There is no one thing for everybody. And by the way, this turns out to be a problem my mother had with vegetables back in the 1900s. 1900s, oh my God, yeah, 1990s. Mom would go on these, I'll just call them these really fad diets where for a couple of weeks all she's going to eat is broccoli. For a couple of weeks all she's going to eat is cabbage. For a couple of weeks all she's going to eat is this. I'm kind of the same way, at least I used to be. We would find one thing we absolutely loved and then we would binge on it for 2 to 3 weeks till we were so sick of it we wouldn't eat it again. However, in Mom's case, she was trying to be healthy, so she would binge on these things. And within 5 or 6 weeks, she passed out one day in the house and Dad had to rush her to the emergency room. And they said your potassium level was too high. And so they had to tell her, you can't eat all these things. Now, did they bother to tell their only son that maybe potassium was something he needed to watch out for? See, this ties into something else that I did a video years ago where I talked about we can't be hiding health issues from doctors, but we also can't hide it from other family members because that stuff tracks you. That's just how it is. So that's what my thing is today. There's a lot of diets out there and people are doing all these things, but everything isn't for everybody. It just isn't. And so if you're thinking about trying a diet, you need to do some research on that bad boy first. Don't always just look at the people who are praising it. Go look for the reviews of people who don't like it. Now, if you're following a diet and someone says, I didn't lose any weight on it, whatever, you know what? That may be true, but that's not going to be helpful for you. What you need to find out is, 1, did people gain weight on it? Or 2, if they started having any health problems from those particular diets. That's the way you're supposed to do it. So, yep, not a technology video. This is definitely a health video. I hope you learned something from it. Let me know your thoughts. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Hope you have a wonderful day.